Hi, so it's 11:15, we're gonna get started. Thank you for being here. I'm Marc Reguera. I'm actually working finance. Anybody from finance? Wow, these are my people. I'm so happy. So, I wasn't sure that a lot of you, so first of all, please silence your cell phone. I wasn't sure what was the image a lot of you had of finance. I thought there would not be as many people from finance, but for those of you, I wanted to validate what image you have from finance. So, no, it's important to set expectations. So, is that the image you have of finance guy at Microsoft? Now, I want to make sure because if some of you, I see somebody go like this, you really thought I would come out as like this? No, this is not a finance person from Microsoft. Just want to make sure. I know the finance. No, I'm going to take it off now. So, so now that I've cleared what we are not, I'm going to talk a little bit about what my job is. As a finance guy at Microsoft, by the way, I probably have 10 minutes of slides. Most of what we're going to do, we're going to play with data, hoping I have good connectivity because everything I'm going to do goes through the network. So, as a finance guy, I have two jobs at Microsoft. The first one is to keep people out of jail. And finance folks know that. Sometimes people like you who have dinner with a government official or making sure that we recognize revenue ratably and we have signed contracts and things like that. But my other job, which is my main job, is I help leaders make better decisions. I don't build stuff like a lot of you, and I don't sell stuff. My job is to really help leaders make good decisions. And I hope my finance friends in the room feel the same way. And it's not easy. It's not easy because, we follow a process where we spend time getting data, converting it to information, and then we're not done there because we want to have impact. That's how we approach finance job at Microsoft. So once we discover insight, we got to influence business leaders and decision makers in making the right decision. So what's good and fun and hard as a finance employee is that you have technical skills and then you have social skills that are needed. Because BI is not my goal. My goal is impact. And that requires influencing business leaders sometimes to increase the sales forecast. And that's not something they really always agree because they are paid on how much they beat their quota, the sales guys. So we're not going to talk about the art of influencing. We can spend a week on this. A lot, obviously, today we're going to speak is on the first two parts, how we get insight, how we get data and convert it to insight. So one of the things we want to do is what question can we answer, and the other one, what actions can we take? It's not easy. So for 3 years, every Friday, I had to speak with the leadership of the US Microsoft, the presidents and their direct reports. And I had to tell them how the week went, revenue-wise. So in the US, in Microsoft, we get hundreds of millions of dollars every week. So on Monday, I'd come in the office, and this is what I got. So this is like, if you have a lot of kids and you go to your laundry after a weekend of sports, that's how you feel. It's just a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that you have to clean, and on Friday, I have 10 minutes to tell those guys what happened. So that whole process is a challenge because I have thousands and thousands and thousands of records, and I got to tell 3-4 things. It's a good week, boom, boom, boom. That's what they expect. And so what I want to make sure that you get out of this session is that we can focus on data. People want information. And at the end of the day, you can get more and more and more data. I'm going to talk more about that. But you're going to have to make sense out of it. And a lot of your work will be judged and based on how you are able to convert information because business leaders will appreciate your work based on what you make out of it, how you make sense out of it. And so in my 19 years at Microsoft, I've been there for 19 years. At one point, I was the CFO of all our call centers, so lots of data. I have a few challenges to be able to do my job. The first one is that I'm always fighting with IT. in 19 years. I got my business leaders, they want stuff, and I want IT, and I go to IT and they need time and money. And rightfully so. And then I go back, it's done 6 months later, it's obsolete. My business leader wants new stuff and they need time and money. And for 19 years, I've been just dancing. You know, we say in France, I was sitting in between two chairs, going back and forth. That's a challenge because I'm not a technical guy. I know business, but the reality is that I need IT to build it. And I'll talk later how the new BI stack has really helped me in my job. And we went from a kind of a vicious cycle to a virtuous cycle. And I'll hear and talk a little bit before about it, but for the last year, it has changed dramatically. The second thing is, this is a typical finance person. Lots of binders. I mean, at Microsoft, we sell hundreds of products in hundreds of licensing ways to hundreds of countries to dozens of different customer segments. So every time you do 100 times 100 times 100, and so every time you have, I want to see licensing by country, by this, by that, it's another page in the appendix in the binder. That's a typical finance person, and I think, you know, typically if you see a person in your company that has binders, big binders, that's usually a finance person. We don't need to go to the gym. We just carry a lot of binders. And the last one, let's face it, our business reviews can be long lectures. You see the energy. You start the meeting, everybody's energetic, and after 5-10 minutes, it's just data overload. You just go and you know, it's amazing because if your spouse tells you to go to the grocery store, milk, bread, wine, cheese, after the fourth one, you start, okay, yet in business review, we put hundreds of numbers, and you see it after 10-15 minutes, a lot of people are checked out. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. And so big data is a challenge because you're going to have to go through all of that to make sense out of it. It's more time because at the end of the day, you got to make sense out of data. So I'm going to give you an example and the demos are going to be interesting because I can only project in extend mode, and so I'm going to have to turn on this edge and play with my mouse. With the demos, I have a driver issue apparently, but we'll make it work. So at Microsoft, we have 80, 90,000 people, and we travel a lot. So we spend hundreds of millions of dollars in airfare. We work with American Express, and they gave me a gold pot, $1.5 million record, every airfare or every person at Microsoft for 3 years. Really good data. 60 to 80 data points for each trip, the airport of origin, the arrival airport, the number of miles, the number of days before they bought the ticket, really good data. And typical, like most company, you know, 25 slides per country times 50 countries, that's what we did. We did 1,250 slides. So every country had a slide about tables and tax. This is actually a review of our airfare cost for one country. And you know, for the 50 top, that's 1,250 slides. That's a lot that's data overload. Then the eyes get glossy, obviously. So now we have, I think I had a mouse, but I'll do it with it. I'm going to show you what I did. And so this is, here's the mouse. This is the part where I don't mean to be rude, but I'm going to have to do it this way. This is what I built. This is the airfare cost for one country. You can see all the countries, and I will show you, we're going to build one together. So if this doesn't, you're wondering what application, don't worry, I'll show you how to build one. So this is for one country. I call it, to obfuscate the data, I call it Mesopotamia. You have every antique country that corresponds to a real, and I think I need to make sure I'm connected. So this is the, let me make sure, because I may have a little bit of a connectivity issue on the bottom. So here, this is it this one? Okay. Maybe, okay, so it looks like I dropped the connectivity, and I'm going to try to bring it back. So let me bring all this down. Okay. So let me just here connect. It looks like I'm connected, but I seem to have issues in the way the data refreshes. So let me do that again. If I click on one country, okay. Let's see. Okay, so let's see if it stops spinning and it will. Okay, so this is not part of the normal demo, but I just dropped connectivity. So let me go back and see if I can get connectivity. You know, I'm gonna go and I have an Excel view, and I'm gonna switch to that because at this point, I don't know, I can't rely on the connectivity. Let me see. So, let's see. Okay, and then I'm gonna do, okay. Let's see if it works again. It looks like I may be working, so let me see. I'm gonna refresh and see if we get access. No. Okay, so I'm gonna move to offline and I'm gonna show everything in Excel. So unfortunately, I cannot show you these tools with PowerPoint, but we're gonna open the slides and show it to you in Excel because we don't have connectivity. Let's see. So I'm gonna show you an example of what I did with Power View in Excel. So here's an example where I took the data from, and I'm going to open the other one as well. Okay. So there is 2 or 3 ways you can use Power View. The first one is online, and obviously you need connectivity, and you use it with SharePoint and PowerPoint. The other one is in Excel 13. You can use everything through offline with the model inside the Excel. So here is an example where all my data, and I'm going to switch to another topic, all my data is in Excel. So I have my data in my Power Pivot that I join. Again, I need connectivity with Bing Maps. But so here you can see the percentage of states with a health insurance. And you can see this is all fully interactive. And the beauty is that you can really look at any state and see the trend because the data is interactive. And so you can do this in SharePoint, you can do this in PowerPoint, and everything is fully interactive. So what I'm going to try to do is I have an Excel where I have all my data in let's see, this one. So we're going to build one because what has changed in the way I do my job is that I can build things from scratch, which before I couldn't do. So here you're going to have the sales information for Microsoft. We have 4 tabs. One tab comes from MS Sales. So this is all the sales information for Microsoft. It's revenue. And then we have mapping tables that show things by product, by pricing level, and by time. So I'm going to, as it comes up, so this is a simple table, and I'm going to go in Power Pivot and show it to you. It has the information by month, by region, by country. And I've joined these tables simply through a simple connection. And when I see the diagram view, there we go. So here I've joined my main output with a product, a licensing, and pricing level. So what has really revolutionized the way I do my job is that I can build views where before I had to work with IT. So we can do this in SharePoint, but I'm going to show you the experience in Excel. Insert part of view. This is in Excel native in 2013. Yep.
Mark, is there any way you could reduce the resolution of your computer because it's illegible?
It is?
We can't see a thing.
Okay. So I'm going to try to do that. Is it better here? Is it getting better?
Go out to your desktop.
I think I reduced it to what I could bring it down. Screen resolution. So I have 1200 by 80, so I'm going to reduce a bit more, okay? Apply. Okay. I'm going to keep the change. And it's, so here, this is the way part of you works. This is what's amazing about this. You have your data, your filter, and what looks like a PowerPoint slide, your sandbox. If you were in SharePoint, you'll have a fourth area where you can have your slides. So here I have a lot of data that shows sales, and I map some geographies, I map some pricing level, and I map some customer segment. So what I'm going to do now is just open and build things. So I bring actuals. I click on the actuals here. Come on. And I'm going to bring, so this is going to be interesting. I'm going to bring, do you see actuals? Maybe I'll bring a little, and let's see if the wireless is strong. Okay, so with total improvisation here. So we're going to bring actuals, budget. You're going to see the numbers after. We're going to bring variance to budget in dollars and percentage. So you see the data appearing in the middle. What I'm going to do here is apply some filtering. First of all, I just want a certain fiscal year. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag. This is, anybody can do this, to the filter area. And so here we're going to just look at fiscal year 12. Okay? Then I'm going to say I just want a certain area. And let's say I just want an antique area 1, for example. So here we have now 980 million actuals, 957 budget, 23 million variance to budget, and 2%. That's the variance to budget. I'm going to then now build some views by geography. So I go back, and I'm going to bring actuals. And we're going to bring maybe sub-regions. So what I notice here is that I have one field called antique area judgment 1. This is the field that finance put more money when we disagree with our sellers. It's a country called judgment. But in this context, it's 0 and I don't need it. So I'm going to take this one out. So it's here, and in the filter, you're going to see it's going to disappear. So what we have now here is some options in terms of charts. What we're going to do here is build a cluster chart. And what we see right away is some really good information about the kind of data we have. When you have data like that, I recommend you sort it in descending order. And now we can put some data labels. We're going to put that inside N. And we're going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay? So we know a lot about our data. One of the key features for a finance person is, this is something that probably the most technical skills, Control-C, Control-V. We do that a lot. And that's something we have to do. They thought about us, the developers. And all you have to do, right? All you have to do is go to the actuals here, take it out, and we're going to put now variance to budget. So let's see, variance to budget is right here. There we go. Okay. Did I click? Okay. Okay, so I think I need to go down. Okay, and again, when you have data like this, it's sorted in descending order alphabetically. You should do it by dollars. So now we know that of the 23 million, the top performer is Carthage. So we're going to do 3 things. We're going to look at actuals by, let's see, actuals by quarter. So we bring actuals and we bring time. And by quarter. We're going to build a little column chart here, very easy to do. And notice the auto formatting. We spent a lot of time changing. They did a great job in doing the auto formatting. I'm going to do 2 more charts, and then we're going to give a title, and we'll be ready to go. So here, I'm going to put some data label here quickly. Design, layout, data label, so you can see what we're talking about. And then we're going to build 2 charts quickly and variance to budget, and we'll be done. The whole thing takes just a few minutes. Variance to budget, we want to know by licensing. So we go here, detailed pricing level. There we go. This tells us how much revenues we have from existing versus new customers. It's very important. So here again, the auto format works really well. And I can put data labels again. Here on the layout, data labels, show. And then the last one we're going to show is the view by product. The reason why I'm showing all the steps is to really show you that you need no technical skills to do this. You just need to know where your data is and how to represent your data. And on the product, I'm going to bring BG2. I have some zeros here. I can filter out a couple OSD and MPN here on my product, and I'll be ready to go. So here, OSD, MPN, and then I'm going to put the data in a column, and we're going to make it bigger. The auto format is going to work. So we have built something in 5 minutes that you can now present to a senior leaders by just playing. And you can do this in PowerPoint. And if I had connectivity, I can show you how to do it. But it's very easy. It's the same functionality, and you can create something that is exported to PowerPoint in matters of seconds. So I'm going to put this label up, and I guess this one doesn't want to come. Show. There we go. OK. So now we're going to be ready to present. This is what happened in a real business review. I'm going to call this financial summary. And in 5 minutes, you can have, the data, there's no real data limitation here. You can have, we have a few 100,000. So in a business review, and then we can do home, make it a little bit bigger for the people in the back. We can take this one out. Is it better now? Can you see? You can't see? OK, I think I can describe it and show you how it works. So here you have a region that is around $1 billion. Top country is Byzantium here. This country here is around $400 million. Top country, a lot of our revenue comes in Q4. That's around 400 million. If you look at the variance to budget, Carthage is the top performer at 11 million. We do very well with renewals, and we do well with office and client. So in a business review, our president came and said, can I know more about that top performer, Carthage? This is what happened. So the person was in the room, and we say, of course we can tell you. So let's see if I can find the mouse. Oh, there we go. And we say, sure. So by clicking on it, this says what has changed my job. When you click inside, you filter on that value, and it still shows you that value in context of the total. So what you see here is that this country is the best with existing customers, renewal and recurring, but struggle with new revenue. Now, new revenue, for anybody who is in finance or in business, that's a critical metric. That's a leading indicator. So our president said, can I know more about new revenue? Second click. You have that question with traditional BI. It's Appendix 57, blah, blah, blah. So here we click on new, and now we're filtering on new. The best country overall is the worst in new revenue. And so we did this in 2 clicks. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. That's something that finance needs to accept and analyze, that you are now making the data consumable, and the meetings are going to be much more interactive. The problem is, sometimes, in this case, the meeting was a lot harder because we were able to expose something that was not obvious. By the way, in Microsoft, we call this watermelon metrics. It's green on the outside, but it's red on the inside. And in this case, it's red. Because being behind on new revenue, it means that it's going to hurt you in the long term with the other KPI. And so you can load the Power Pivot in SharePoint, build this view, and have a dynamic PowerPoint slide. So this can be done in PowerPoint. Your PowerPoint will be connected to your SharePoint, so the security will be done through SharePoint. So I'm going to go back to the deck, and I hope you had a good idea of the interactivity. And I'm going to show you a couple of other, if I can. This is probably the most challenging presentation I've ever done. So if between finding my mouse, turning my back on you, and but we'll make it work. So let me go back to the presentation. If I can again find the mouse, because I'm in an extend mode. I think it's there. All right. So let's go in presentation mode. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So we've looked at airfare, and I couldn't see it. We built one from scratch. So these are the challenge I had before. Remember the challenge with IT, the reviews, and the data in the lecture. First of all, I have a better relationship with IT now. IT gives me the data models, and I can build the views myself. So the lines are getting blurry. How much finance do with DAX formulas, how much we are able to do, what our skill set, and how much IT does in giving us the cleanest data model possible with good taxonomy. This is where it depends on your skill set. In Microsoft, we're lucky they gave us really, really good data models with really good hierarchies, and I usually don't have to do much with that. But I know how to put a little DAX formula. It's sum, calculate sum, budget minus actual. So that helps me a lot. And as Aaron was saying, now that I build a model that becomes popular, they can see it through SharePoint 2013, and then we can scale. We have a PowerPoint slide that is fed from 250 million records in my division. Because what IT did is build a model that was very optimum, and we built user-level security in the PowerPoint deck by feeding the data from the BI semantic model. So if you feed the data from Power Pivot, when they open the deck, they have access to the entire data in the deck. Like they would have Carthage will see other countries. If you feed the data from the BI semantic model, Carthage would only see Carthage data in PowerPoint. So you can have columns and row security. That to me is a revolution, because you can build a view, give it to, like we do at Microsoft, 1,000 finance people in the field. The France analyst only see France data in the standard views, and he can build his own views that IT refreshes in the background and has row and column security. Because remember, business reviews are done in PowerPoint. 1/3 to 2/3 of finance job is run a report, refresh it, put it in Excel, build a graph, and copy it in PowerPoint. That's what we do a lot. That's why my job has changed, because now I have my PowerPoints connected with security dynamically to my data model that is in Power Pivot that IT can scale to row and column security. And so I'm the analyst. I have tools that allow me to build views that I couldn't do before, which has really changed the way my job is. And so the second thing is that you can get straight to inside, no more copy and paste it, and the PowerPoint slides are dynamic. I mean, that's amazing, that the PowerPoint, that you can now interact with that. And so I truly believe Stephen Few built this slide in 2.5 years. I truly believe we're breaking the wall. When you think of BI, I meet a lot of people here. There's, I think, two kinds of BI kind of people. There is the people who are technology-centric, engineering-oriented. They spend time collecting, cleaning, transforming, integrating, storing, reporting data. And then there's the people who try to make sense of that data. And it's a more human-centric, design-oriented. We explore, analyze, communicate, monitor, and predict. And so, for me, the good news is that we're getting so much better on the left side, especially for people like me. I play with millions of records. I don't know SQL. I can build a little DAX formula. I can build views. And IT can enable me by giving me a lot of good data models of data that is clean and collected. connected. The tools are getting better for the second part, but I think we lack significant skills to build views. I truly believe, this is like an architect or a chef. You will always need smart people to convert data to information and make sense out of it. Machine learning, statistics, all that stuff, yes, but you will always need people who talk to business people to understand their KPI, what are their key metrics, and convert and do the transition between the business goals and the data. This is an important point. And I think it's good news because you'll always need that design human-centric. I want to emphasize that point because we tend to be talking about a lot of machine learning and predictive analysis. Well, you know, everybody was wrong in the stock market in 2009, and they had a lot of statistics. At some point, humans need to deal with uncertainty, with risk, and that's where we need more of a design and human-centric approach. For me, going from data to info, it's like going from this to this. This is actually the actual ingredients to make the Cinnabons. IKEA made a cookbook where they actually break all the ingredients that were like they break their furniture. This is a true, and so I am the person in the middle. I'm like a chef. I cook numbers. I don't cook the numbers. Let's be clear. I want to make sure we're clear on that. I cook numbers for them. Very important distinction. But that's what I do. So we've talked always about the ingredients. You have to remember, they want the Cinnabons. And if you don't have people who can convert your ingredients into Cinnabons, they're not going to appreciate your ingredients. You need to have good chefs. It's very important. So in that context, what is big data for me? Let's say I'm a chef. Big data is this. More ingredients. I'm not sure I always need that. Seriously, if I'm a chef, I gotta spend a lot of time going through that to figure out what I need. So I just want to make sure that when we talk about big data, we need to understand that as the influx of data increases, we can't keep up with the ability to make sense out of it. And you're gonna have to spend hundreds of hours to say, is this good, is this not, do I use it, what is this? So we cannot forget that. And that's when it's structure. If big data is in structure, that's what this is. So I'm not sure in that context, big data is important. And everybody's talking about this data scientist, statistic. I got scared because I was thinking I need to go back to my statistic class in college. And they talk about, learning Python and I got worried. I disagree a little bit, and that's an opinion. Huh? We all are entitled to our opinion. I truly believe that the job of the future for me is the people who can make the data consumable. So I wish I could have showed you the airfare. I truly converted 1,200 slides into one. I have no connectivity. A lot of what I do is on YouTube, so you can look at it over there. But to me, that's the job of the future, and we're going to need more people like that. And it took me a week to design that slide. It takes a lot of time because you got to spend time taking things away. I put this quote, a designer has achieved perfection not when there's nothing left to add, but when there's nothing left to take away. And when you add more data with big data, I got to spend more time and take things away. And so it's a challenge in that context. I truly believe we need new skills. And I think the first skills we're going to need is business knowledge. This doesn't mean you read a P&L, you need to know how they make money, what are their cost structure, what are their channels of revenue, what are their revenue per unit. When I was the finance lead for what I call Centers, I sat with engineers and I understood how they track their labor, how it connected to the financials. You got to know the operations. This is a very important piece. So whenever you deal with data and you work with number cooks or number chefs or data translator, whatever you want to call it, try to find people who really have deep business knowledge. But that's not all, because you're going to have to find a way to synthesize and simplify. This is a bit of a pet peeve for me, because I truly believe that we underappreciate the art of making things simple. It's very, very hard to make things simple without making them simplistic. And when I meet, to me, a degree of smart intelligence with somebody is when they can explain to me things that are very complicated in a simple way. That means that they know it at the organic level and they're able to explain it in a way that is very simple. Why do we have to do that? Because you remember, if you go to the grocery store, you can only process 3 to 4 things at a time. Our brain is like a giant hard drive where you remember things in long-term memory from you were a kid, but you hardly have any RAM. So you have to process things in very tiny bits of 3 to 4 pieces. That's the way our brain is. So the reason why you have to synthesize is because that's the way the brain is designed. Once somebody understands it, they put it in a long-term memory, and you remember years later. But the actual process, this is important because if you have a few minutes to explain, you got to spend a lot of time doing that. Storytelling, this is not, there is a plot, there's a villain, there is a good person. This is about, there is a problem statement, here are the root cause. Once you simplify and categorize your thing, you got to link them in a structured way. So there is a connection between all your points. And then the last one is data visualization. And that's just because that's, again, the way we're wired. Our eyes can process things a lot faster. So you're thinking, why am I in the wrong conference? Why? Because no matter how much your mechanic engineering process are in processing millions of records, if you don't have somebody who has those skills, who can convert data to information, you're not going to take advantage of it. We had airfare cost that was really good for years at Microsoft, and we didn't take advantage of it because we just, remember, everything you do is to help people make better decisions by converting data to information. And so that step is critical. So just to give you the importance of the story, I thought I'd tell you something quickly. Let me give you an example. Here's a story. Do you remember last Saturday afternoon when I was playing with my boyfriend and you came? Well, he said that when I turned around, you gave him a kiss. It's like, where is he going with this? On Sunday, when you came to my house and my mom prepared tuna fish salad, yep, that's the worst salad. And yesterday, when my cat got tangled, blah, 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 and you attacked my cat. Well, for all these reasons, I hate you, and I don't want to be your friend. Here's how you should tell this story. I hate you, here's why. You stole my boyfriend, you insulted my mom, you scared my cat. Main idea, supporting argument. No, but seriously. If you go into a meeting, there's a data, blah, 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 for factory 1, factory, they're going to say, because every time you tell me something, I can only process 3 to 4 things, so I got to classify. You tell me I hate you for 3 reasons. Okay, first reason, that's 1, 2, 3. You tell me you hate me, then I got to think, what did she say the first one and the second reason? The story is important. It's very important because if you don't do that, they won't appreciate your data. So it usually starts with a question, and I'm going to try to open this one. How is Africa doing? That's not specific enough. How did African countries' standard of living improve in the last 30 years? I wanted to work on that. African countries, I put a map, standard of livings, I got to come up with some metrics. Improve in the last 30 years, I need to think of a timeline. So the way I approach things is that I think of what to visualize and how to visualize. So I'm going to try to open this one in Excel because, again, we don't have connectivity. And if I can find my mouse as well, let's see. Where did I put my mouse? It's here. And show you the actual Africa demo I did in this context. So this is, give me a second, and we'll be able to file, open, I think, there we go. So we're going to open this one. And so this is something that is on YouTube. So if you type my name, you'll see this demo. I did this demo with a PPI. So what you saw with Amir, I basically went to the World Bank and took data about different things, about different countries around the world. I started with a question about Africa, but first I wanted to do something about the rest of the world. So here we're having a map tab and we have some bubbles. And I'm going to show you first the bubbles. There we go. Let's go. Okay. So here we have the democracy index. And this is Latin America. So And then we have from -10 to 10. So democracy index, it's a third party that rates a country democracy based on the human rights and other things. And here we have the GDP per capita. So, and the size of the bubble is the population. This is Latin America. In Excel, you can now animate, if I can get my thing on the year. So here we have Chile, Suriname, Paraguay. In 1990, up there become democratic. And then Brazil GDP keeps going up. You see some people going back. Argentina went down with the crisis. Brazil and Venezuela became less democratic. And you can see the patterns. If you click on the bubble, you can see the patterns of Argentina over the last years. This is a visual that is available in Excel. And so what I've done specifically about, and because Bing Maps is not available, you won't be able to see. But if we click on Africa, I have all the KPIs here that are available that shows the mobile phone brand users, the mobile phone per 100, the GDP per capita. And if I change this chart instead of a Bing map, because I don't have connectivity, to a bar chart, we're going to be able to interact with that chart. So all I have to do is go to Power View and click on the chart and change the design of the charts to a bar. And we will be able to interact with the country. So let me put a bar chart. And then in this context, we're able to see the country. And we don't need the Bing maps. OK, so here I have all the countries in Africa. This is sorted by population. So if I want to see, OK, there's a lot of countries. We're going to go to the ones that have the highest population. Let's go Nigeria. You click on Nigeria, and every let's see if I click. Because the data is connected, all the KPI change. So GDP per capita in Nigeria was flat at $1,600 for like 25 years and went up almost 50% in the last 7-8 years. So this is an example of a person, not technical, going into Excel, getting data from a public site and putting it in a consumable way. It's very, very powerful. Let me go back to my presentation. There we go. So if I go in presentation mode, there we go. Is it there? OK. So as I said, it starts with a question. What you want to show, and you're going to need some people who know the business, and then what to visualize. My approach to design, and this is what we've done. You know, you're supposed to see the map like that. So you have Bing Map integrated. I don't have connectivity. And the bubble, so if you click on the bubble in Nigeria on the map, all the charts will change. That's why I changed it to a bar. OK? But it works as well. So my approach to design is very simple. I follow this mantra. This is a professor from, I think, I forgot which school. Overview first. Every view I show always starts with an overview. You should always give context. That's what I believe. You start with an overview, and then you zoom and filter, and then details on demand. I didn't come up with that. It's a Professor Schneiderman. So every view you're going to see from Africa, from airfare, I always give context. And then when you put a line, you can see the patterns, and you can zoom in, and you can filter, you can pick a country, you can pick a region. And then you have the details on demand after that. If you start with the details on demand without a structure, without story, then you're going to lose people. So make sure you think about those things so people can really appreciate the engineering and mechanical work that you do with the data. There's 3 ways I've used Power View. In Excel 13, I start usually with Excel 13, like the Africa, like today, we have no connectivity, so you only saw Excel. But when I'm done with that, I loaded it in SharePoint, and in SharePoint, I build my views that I export to PowerPoint. And I wish I could show you, it's incredible. PowerPoint Dynamic Slide is a revolution. It's really changed the way I do my job. I send my deck, they save it on their desktop, they click on it, a month later, it goes to the SharePoint with security, and they get the latest data. I have pivot tables, Power Pivot tables that are automatically refreshed. So the whole thing on copy is gone, copy and paste. So And it has security. If that person forward that deck to somebody that is not connected, that doesn't have access to SharePoint, they won't be able to interact. And when IT see the third one, okay, we see a lot of people using this report. Let's scale it. Because the role with IT now is much more important because we expect 100 million records to refresh in 2-3 seconds. So I've discovered that because when we built the first one, it was 40 seconds in a meeting. You know, it spins. But if you put complex DAX formulas, and I discovered the world that a lot of the importance of having an amazing architect that has a lot of the calculation in memory, that removes a lot of the complicated, that has a way of doing complex calculation in a very, very, very efficient way. And so for me, the role with IT is really now focused on architecture of the data so we can take advantage of the in-memory engine and we can have efficient formulas. And then they can bring user-level security. So Carthage could only see Carthage data in PowerPoint. And you give the sandbox to analysts, and they can use it for their own, they can build their own views as well. So I had everything I needed. This is all I had. And everything was brought together. I feel that PowerView brought all of this together. Because I can do things with Power Pivot in Excel, put it in SharePoint, put it in PowerPoint. And then I discovered Data Explorer. So maybe I'll try to connect one more time because I only need connection to the internet for this one. And if I can connect, then I'll show you how this particular tool, this is interesting. I've never ever, just to find my mouse, it's a challenge. Let's see. Okay, I'm here. Do I have connectivity? Let's see. It's amazing. Okay. I hope we do. Let's type Bing. WordWire. Do I do or no? If I don't have connectivity, I won't be able to show you Data Explorer, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. There's nothing I can do on this one. So maybe if I connect to the PSS back Wi-Fi, let's see. I'll try one more time, and then we'll see if it works. Let's see. You know, in the meantime, we gotta be ready for it. It's probably not gonna work given I have literally no network. I'm gonna go back and maybe take some questions and finish. I was gonna finish with the Data Explorer, but it's not gonna happen. So we're gonna go to Plan B. I'm gonna put my last slide, and then we can go to questions. So let me show you the last slide. So the image, and there we go. So I got everything I needed. So this is the image you have at first of a Microsoft employee, right? So we're gonna keep the money, but I hope this is the image you have. Okay? We'll keep the money on the side. So this, if you type my name on YouTube, you're gonna see a lot of the videos I couldn't show you today. You search Marc Reguera, I tweet, and I'm on LinkedIn. So we have a few minutes that we have because of the lack of connectivity. Questions, comments? Yep.
Is there a way to make the data behind the scenes dynamic in a way that you can use what if cases?
So my understanding is, so the question is, can we use what if cases in the data? I believe that you can use, and I think maybe Marco knows more than me, and that there are DAX formulas that allows you in your data. So you have to build everything in the back end. And so this is just a rendering tool. It's a UI tool. So we use budget and forecast. but you have to build it in your database. So if you want to use what-if scenarios, they have to be embedded in your database. And I've explored a tiny bit of DAX formulas. It's a very powerful engine. As long as you can show your scenarios in a database format, you can render it in Power View. Yes? So I typed US crime rate, for example, today, and I can see the crime rate in a city. In the future, you know the Africa example. You have access to the World Bank that has zillions of data points about, like for example, Africa. I didn't know they had 60 mobile phones per 100 people. You can see the growth in internet users. It's going to help us in understanding, going to those central data repository, how a country's economic environment is doing and what are the potential opportunities. And I think there's a lot of, the one thing I'm excited about Data Explorer is that they added the pivot on pivot functionality. So when you have all your dates, you know, most of the public data is not, it's hard. You have July, August, September as a column. You can make it as one column with the months as rows. And that's a functionality that allows you to go to most public data, take advantage of it. So it's been released for a couple of weeks. I play with it, but I really think that for future, when we're going to look at budgets, understanding the economic environment, we can tap into institutions that have great data. Even in districts, if you go to us.gov, there's a lot of state information, economic trends and patterns. This is a question in the back.
What percentage of your department has access to these tools?
Can you say that again?
What percentage of your department has access to these
So in finance, we have an umbrella of reports that are under MS reports. And that includes MS sales, which has the revenues. We have all the costs in Mercury. So in finance, every finance person has access to all those tools for their area. So I worked in the server and tools division. I have access to server and tools data. Finance have access to France data. So we have very, very, very tight security, especially towards quarter end. So every finance person has access to all that data for their own area or geography or segment. Does that answer your question? Yes?
Follow-up question to that. How much training or how much integration happened in that transition period where all these users suddenly had access to all these tools, non-technical?
It's a mixed bag. You have finance folks who are technical, they use pivot table, and you probably have seen some, you have the one person in the department who just, and typically they're more the junior kind, and they know a lot. And so it started with that. I spent a lot of time, I recorded videos to demystify the complexity of our tools, because there is this thing, this image, but the BI tools, the strategy Microsoft have, I think it's great, is to give technical dummies the ability to do things that were impossible. So they are starting, we are doing a lot of Power Pivot classes now, because when people want to use Power Pivot, they say, well, I got to spend 80% with the data to understand. And so then we have had a huge uptick in Power Pivot. So I would say there's a third, early adopter, they embrace it. There's the middle third that is coming, and there's probably 20% that will never get there. That they are more the auditing, accounting, and senior people whose role is more to influence than convert data to insight. And that's okay, but I tell you, it's really coming. The tide is coming, and I see amazing things done. Because, you know, DAX, some calculate actual minus some budget. Boom. Does that answer your question? Yeah?
I have a question. What would you say, if you had to guess at people who are embracing this tool, how much of their time is now spent analyzing versus generating data?
Yeah.
Because in finance, we spend a lot of time generating data.
I know. I know. We did a study at Microsoft. It's been 1/3 and 2/3 of our time. No, I know exactly what you mean. I'd say that if you set it up well, you don't spend any time. The time you spend is more understanding the new views that you need to create. Because the beauty of it is that I don't need to work with IT. Somebody wants to have another view, I build it. And IT controls the data. So I would say it's probably less than 10% now. You know, we have this big exercise at Microsoft, it's called media reviews, where our decks have, I think, 22,000 numbers. It's like a coffee book table, you know, this boom. We had a 90-page appendix, because when somebody wants to see a country view by licensing, we built 6, 7 power views that had a lot of filters that allow us to answer questions in seconds. Because they want to know new market revenue for EA, for server and tools. You use your slicers and you see your data instantly. And that's a revolution. The slicers is probably, and you can have slicers in Power BI. So I'd say probably under 10%, from 1/3 to 2/3. But that time could be invested really on the human design where you can, and I think finance needs to get those new skills. I think Aaron was talking about only a few people used to do the printouts. Now only a few people, because a lot of finance people do bad Power View views where it's cram and you still don't see things. So we're going to have to learn new skills, the storytelling. Does that answer your question? Just so you raise your hand.
I was just going to ask what you're doing with all your spare time now.
I analyze the business. I give in. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm an analyst. Because remember, this is BI. Business intelligence. That's what BI is. Now I'm really trying to give intelligence about the business. I am not doing BI technology-focused activities. I truly do what I believe is business intelligence. You had a question?
Can you speak to the type of data that you're pulling, whether you're pulling that from a data warehouse,
Yeah.
pulling that from cubes?
Yeah. So we have an Excel front end at Microsoft for all the finance folks that we tap into warehouses that are, IT does a great job in making it consumable with user-friendly way, user-friendly names, and clean hierarchies. So there's a whole process that IT goes to make the data consumable from the Excel-based query tool I have. So I don't go into a raw place that will be very hard for me to do. I go to a place that has a lot of steps that have been done by IT to clean it up. But now I can, if I want to group US and Canada into North America and it's not there, I can do it in Power Pivot. So because I have an Excel front end, I usually put all this data into Power Pivot. And now we are integrating Power Pivot more directly with our warehouses that have that data that is already cleansed. Because Power Pivot is really, you know, the perfect tool for a non-technical person to massage data, especially with Excel 13, because you can do a lot of things.
So then if I heard you correctly, you're grabbing most of your data from your warehouses, not from your cubes?
Yes, from warehouse, that's correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just compare with like a system, a financial system like a Hyperion or a Cognos or an Infor. It
Right.
sounds like there's a lot of things, tools that can be done. You know, but we do a lot of the what if and that cost.
Yeah.
And adding
Yeah,
products
yeah,
to-
yep.
How do you, I can't speak with that, your roadmap is.
No, you're right. That's a very good point. So this is really for general analytics and understanding, you know, giving context, looking at different patterns. We still use a lot of the traditional Excel tools to do the things you have for, you know, and SharePoint has capabilities with scorecarding capability, corporate performance management. So for those, we still do a lot of we use Excel for those more traditional finance what-if scenarios. We obviously don't use competitors' products. We have SAP to get the data to have this financial calculation, and then we put that data into a SQL warehouse, and we use Excel-based tools to do those things.
And so are you doing any kind of activity-based costing, tagging, product profitability?
Yeah.
And all that?
Yeah, and some people have built forms and views that we deploy to everybody. We've built a lot of Excel-based tools and forms to be able to do some of those things. So we don't have a third-party Hyperion or Cognos tab that is purely financial.
So is there a clear roadmap to get that one, or is it kind of like consultant that would help come in and design that?
I think there is. I'm probably not the right person because, you know, I'm in finance, and I think there's other people who can tell you. But Corporate performance management, scorecarding, those are things, and what if scenarios, advanced predictive analysis. There are some functions you can use in Excel that may not be as scanned or directly clearly shown in tools like Cognos or Hyperion. No, I know. That's right, that's right. So it's not like that, but you can do with Excel pretty much anything you want. It's not always as easy, obviously. It's becoming easy with analytics, this part. That one, it still requires a little bit of work. Somebody have a question? Yeah?
You referenced PowerPoint a few times during your slide, but we didn't get to see the integration.
No, I can't.
The use case was for using PowerPoint versus having users go directly to SharePoint.
Because that's every business reviews in PowerPoint. Every business reviews in PowerPoint. So every leadership team review, it's PowerPoint. You are not, I don't think you can send a power pivot to a VP or a president or, so for us, it's been a revolution. Our president in Servant Tool, Satya Nadella, he just plays with things. So we have, I can't show you, but the best work we've done is with headcount. We have thousands of developers. He knows which one left, what was their rating. He can play. What was the level? So he has a really good idea of the kind of people are leaving the company, what are the new hires. And that's amazing because you can now interact in PowerPoint. For me, PowerPoint is the most consumable way for business leaders.
Is it an organization? Is that what you're trying to do? Organize the information for the leader?
Yeah, in a consumable way, exactly. So the cartage view I showed you with the cells, you can have a PowerPoint slide just that way. All you have to do in SharePoint, export to PowerPoint, and it's always connected with security. That I don't know, finance folks who are here, they can probably relate that this is an amazing functionality. And nobody really talks about this, but for me, that's the one that changed the most my job. Because 1/3 to 2/3 of the folks, we do that. We have to present things in PowerPoint. So I really encourage you. In the YouTube videos, I show all the steps. There's 5 or 6 videos on exporting to PowerPoint. And I have automatically refreshed to SharePoint Power Pivot. So I don't even have to refresh. It's scheduled. So SharePoint is a great tool for that. Any other questions? I want to make sure if some of you may be hungry. We are a little bit over time. Any other question? Maybe one last question if somebody? Okay. I'm sorry about the connectivity. We can talk offline if you want. And have a good lunch.